The way that price gets over the weekly 10 matters. We don't want Humpty Dumpty, we want Arnold. See the difference? And because we got Humpty Dumpty, guess what Bitcoin said back to 40K? I'll be back. You ready? Let's go. 7 minutes and 14 seconds into my last video, this is what I was saying about this price action before it happened. See how the weekly 10 also goes in that projector tool? And that would be very similar to multiple cases I just showed you where price barely gets above without that velocity and then heads right back down. Even though this isn't current price, it was trying to show the difference of similar things that happened back in April 2020. Either you get a Humpty Dumpty reaction to the weekly 10 or you get an Arnold reaction. Now right down here is current price action, and you can see 2 times in a row that we've got a Humpty Dumpty reaction going on in regard to how price is interacting with this red line, which is the weekly 10. And once again, we have this Humpty Dumpty reaction that is landing almost precisely within the most likely lower high situation, a 45-degree angle, which is what was being explained in that last video. And you might be asking yourself, what the heck is stopping it from doing an Arnold reaction getting above that? Well, let's throw on the monthly 10 EMA, even though we're on the 1 hour chart. Kablam! That's the monthly 10. Let's zoom way in. 5-minute chart. And right now, price is bouncing specifically between the weekly 10, which is the thick red line, and the monthly 10, which is the thin red line. This blue line is the exact price point that I gave to my community yesterday in my daily update because I anticipated a retest of the weekly 10, which at the same rate is trying to cross below the weekly 55. So essentially, price is coming up both to retest the monthly 10, which is the thin line, and it's trying to avoid this cross of the weekly 10 going below the 55, which is a very bearish cross from a midterm time frame. It doesn't get the move necessarily immediately where it tanks the next second. However, over time, over a month, over a week, 5 days, something to that effect, it typically creates downside price action in which Bitcoin price could easily fall back below the monthly 21, which is much below here. For my Discord community update from yesterday, we're up around 44.4, so just a bunch of 4s, right? Just 4 straight across the board. 4. If you want to join a community in which voodoo magic is spoken, where somebody just says 4, and then it happens the next day, go ahead and check out the Discord community. Links within the description section of all my videos where you can turn on your camera and microphone and ask me questions directly to my face, again with your camera and microphone up to 8 times a week. Follow me on Twitter, 𝘾𝙤𝙣𝙣𝙚 with the number 2, 𝘾𝙤𝙣𝙚2. If communities are not your thing, but you want to be able to have exclusive content above and beyond what is offered on YouTube for free, hit the join button below this video and another video will pop up describing your options to you. Now that price has made its move up to the voodoo 4s, I want to show you the 3 most likely price paths that Bitcoin will take from this point, even though I am anticipating my most likely that Bitcoin has said with an Arnold Schwarzenegger voice back to 40K. I'll be back. Let's dive. Take this moment to give me a thumbs up. Don't break your phone in excitement as you do it. If you're feeling extra cute today, want to help out your content creator, also leave a comment down below. Try to make me laugh with a random comment, or you can just leave a simple period without the tampon. And what's going to help you is if you make sure that you're subscribed and hit the bell and select all alerts, because this is time-sensitive information. Allow me to deliver it to you in a time-sensitive fashion. Now that we got our voodoo magic move up to 4, maybe that was too many 4s, let's do the most likely price paths from here. The first 2 price paths that I'm going to show you are the same thing, but the variables in it are how wide the range is before a breakdown. The first one would be the weekly 55 down here acts as support, and you chop around between there, the weekly 10 and or the monthly 10. And again, the monthly 10 is the thin red line, which is on top right now, which is actually bearish. If that's on top of the weekly 10, that's really bad. So you can see they just crossed back here, and that from long term is not good. Anyway, it could be a tight range and then it drops off. However, I think that Bitcoin might want to come all the way back down to 43.2 and then want to come somewhere around one of these 2 red lines, and then what could happen is after that range is filled out, you get some choppiness, then you'll have your bounces all the way back down to this black triangle down here, which is around 40K. Bitcoin might just chop around between these, maybe wick above the red monthly 10, the thin line up there, and then just break below the weekly 55 and then hit roughly the same price point. I will make that a different color like so. In these cases, it's essentially the same price path with a smaller range. The range here is much smaller before it breaks down down, and the range of the pink is much larger before it then breaks down to 40K. However, I'm simply saying it'll range and chop around. So these hybrid together, let's just mate these two together and they have a baby. The most likely price path, in my opinion, the time it takes on the time axis this way that it takes to get to 40K, I'm not guessing exactly February. So these come around February 19. I'm not guessing exactly that date, but rather the general price path, maybe a couple bounces somewhere around this price action back here, and it finds its way back to 40K relatively soon within the next week, or maybe week and a half. That would be my most likely fractal. Now, a more bullish case, let's say that this is a time where we didn't get an Arnold reaction above the weekly 10, which is the thicker red line over there, but price is able to move up closer to 51K ultimately. It is possible, and that might be the second most probable price path. However, the probability of that happening, I think, is much, much, much lower than what I just showed you. A hell of a lot lower, but I think it's easily a double-digit percentage chance, so at least 10% or greater. Let's dive into what that would look like on the smaller time frames. I'm on the 30-minute chart, but we can still see the monthly 10 here, the weekly 10 here, and the weekly 55 here because I'm using this MTF EMA. See it over here? MTF EMA, and that's what we're studying the charts with right now. If price were to get above this red line, I think the way it would do it is potentially not an Arnold move. Rather, I think it would just get above a little bit of this monthly 10 EMA, in which, in order to see this monthly 10 on a smaller time frame, you need to use this MTF EMA over here, and you're going to see price pop above, maybe a little bit of an Arnold, maybe a half, like a 12-year-old Arnold reaction, get above it, but it's going to come back down to rest on top of it, and you won't be able to see that happening unless you're on a small time frame. And therefore, let's draw out this red line. Let's just say, you know, it's moving something like this. That is the monthly 10 extended. Let's make it like that. And what would happen is, I think price could either come barely above and use it as support before then an Arnold move. So let's make this color blue. I think that's one likely scenario, and maybe be able to extend this a little bit up, the first little pop above, something to that effect. I think you could see a price path like that. And if this were to happen, and even though I personally am looking for activity down here throughout the next, 10 days or less to fill the CME gap, which you cannot see on this chart down here, closer to 40,900. Even though that is my main idea, that I think that's very likely to happen, way more likely than any other one scenario. Here's why what I'm doing is going to be value to you. Even though that's my main guess, it doesn't matter. I'm showing you specifically the way price is very likely going to behave if I'm wrong. And I'm anticipating possibly being wrong with a double-digit percentage chance. I'm not just making a guess. I'm making a main idea guess, but I know almost exactly how price is going to behave if I'm wrong. Therefore, I can switch my plan, use risk management, or just not be in the trade. As of right now, I'm personally not. And I can flip my tune quickly to trade to the upside. Are you seeing what I'm seeing here? Are you smelling what I'm stepping in? Let's get back into it. Therefore, if I see price get a little bit above the monthly 10 EMA and jump around and dance around on it, it's not going to be a Humpty Dumpty. What you're looking for is it's probably going to create an Arnold move and stuff's going to go up. But now you might be asking yourself, okay, what if it does this and then breaks down? Well, that would be probably a trap then. I guess that would be the third price path if price really does get above the monthly 10 and you just switch this last vector like that. That might be the third most probable, or fourth. That's a what if, because that would be that'd be a mini bull trap scenario. I don't see it happening right now, but it could. And if price can get above the monthly 10 and bounce around, I would be personally taking on, spot trade positions to the upside, maybe even trying some futures trade to the upside with risk management just below this point in the event that it is all a trap. But I would anticipate if that were to happen, it's very unlikely that it's a trap. That's why you use risk management, because you don't know. And that's the type of specific strategy that we talk about within the Discord community, which you can talk to me live 8 times a week, is when we're having the setup, and if the setup were to move, people come, okay, here's where my entry was. Where should I put my stops? How do I layer stops? Should I break up my stops? And we talk specifically about strategies on risk management. So if you want that type of information because you're having fun clicking around with your money, but you want to do it a little bit more efficiently, and make sure that you check out the Discord community. Again, links in the description section. In my last video, I had on the 4-hour 200 EMA, which is this orange line down here. So right now on your chart, you could have all 4, but really all you need to be focused on, if you use this, see how it says MTF? If you use this, seriously, throw on your monthly 10, weekly 10, and your weekly 55. And that is what you're trying to do right now to be nimble with your positions. I cannot stress this enough, and you're going to be able to turn on a dime if your main idea is wrong. I strongly suggest you take the time to do that. And if you don't know how to set up a chart, I will link you to a 28-minute trading view tutorial that I made just for folks new to crypto at the end of this video. Now we're going to zoom out on Bitcoin, and I want to show you. Now let's zoom out and take a look at how bad that really does get when the weekly 10, which is the thicker red line, goes below the monthly 10, which is the thin red line. It typically creates lots of downside, However, in 2019, 2020, when the whole Bitcoin price was choppy for an entire 2 years, very hard to trade unless you're dealing with options, but spot and futures trading was very, very challenging during this time. It did act a little bit differently. When it went below, that was the end. You had the weekly 10 skim play, so it skimmed like an airplane, landed, it took back off, went below, and that's actually what we have going on right now. The weekly 10 skim played the monthly, and now it's crossing below, and right as it crossed below, that was the end. But right as that happened, that was a capitulation. Therefore, the only two ways that Bitcoin has played this out with this important cross is long extended downturn for over a year, or right around the time it happened, it capitulated hard and fast, then bounced right back within about 6 weeks. Is it possible that something completely different happens this time? Absolutely. It's a decent chance of happening in a way that's never happened before. But looking back at the charts, it is likely better to bet on something that has previously happened because Bitcoin behaves in a certain way. It's fairly more likely to behave similarly to how it's behaved in the past. And it's only behaved two ways in the past when this has happened. This is a macro signal, macro bearish cross. Am I trying to scare you that stuff's going to capitulate tomorrow? It's going down to 20K. No, I'm not saying. Rather, I'm trying to show you evidence that there's a lot of these, the VWAP crossed over and we got a green dot. Yes, there's a lot of that in the 3-day, and the 3-day Stokes are crossing up and it's always had a good reaction. Yeah, that is possible. And if all those things end up playing out, that would mean Bitcoin's is going to do something completely different that it's never done before. However, there is strong evidence against it. So the time frames ranging from, let's say, the 2 hour to the daily, it's just a lot of choppiness right now, even though the daily is the time frame where things start giving more bullish signal. Daily up to the 3-day charts are saying, hey, we're going to give a push up. But charts monthly and weekly and 5-day are more saying, this might not be sustained, and this might be simply yet again a lower high before we turn to the downside. And what that means is the charts are mixed and you simply don't have a strong edge either way. Still, there's simply not a strong edge. Bitcoin is going to be a little bit unpredictable right now. But hopefully you have found that this video has given you price paths and most likely behaviors in the event of either bullish or bearish moves so you can be on your toes. If you want to learn how to set up a chart just like mine, click this video right here. It's 28-minute trading view tutorial. It could save your crypto soul. If you didn't see my YouTube video from yesterday about Bitcoin in my VOODOO 44444, check out this video right here. If you're new to my channel, you haven't subscribed, what are you doing? Click the circle in the middle. You just got 𝐶𝐻𝐵𝐻𝑖fied worldwide. Peace.